Happy launch day, everyone. Finally it's here, live for all of you to enjoy. Hopefully you're all having a blast playing the new game for yourselves. To help celebrate the game's launch, I've got a very special Domination 2v2 for you today, featuring the big baddie himself, LAKOR. Yes, that's right. If you unlock LAKOR, you can use him in custom battle and in multiplayer. You can't use Demons of Chaos currently on ranked matchmaking, so he won't be available there, but obviously in hosted custom lobbies you can do whatever you want. So Demons of Chaos, today I've got LAKOR with some Fiends, Flamers, non-aligned Chaos Furies, and a couple of Nurglings in my starting army. To heal LAKOR, I've got a Plague-ridden Hero of Nurgle with just the heal. It doesn't show the appropriate kit here, but anyway, a couple more Fiends, another Flamer, 3 Fleshhounds, couple more unaligned Furies. We've got 2 Blue Horrors and 3 more Nurglings. I've got a Slaanesh ally here. Sir Augmund, who has been maining Slaanesh in this early access, has got a Herald of Shadows for that sweet pendulums, of course. Should be noted, LAKOR also has Lore of Shadows, but I have not brought Pendulum with him. We'll look at his kit once we get into battle. Soul Grinder of Slaanesh for Slaanesh. We've also got 2 Demonettes and some Hellstriders in reserve, Occultist, more Fiends, some Seekers, some Heart Seekers, more Hellstriders, Exalted Demonettes, Spawn of Slaanesh, 1 regular Demonette, and 2 more APOP Furies. For Samurai Warrior, he's gone with the Celestial Loyalist Cathayan faction. He's got Miao Ying, Double Sentinel opening with Jade Warriors, Longmas in reserve, 2 Celestial Dragon Guard Halberds, and 1 Celestial Crossbow, 2 Jade Lancers, 2 Jade Warrior Halberds, 2 Jade Warrior Shields, 2 Peasant Long Spears. Greasus Goldtooth's faction is the ally, although Greasus himself is notably absent. Instead, he's sent a Stonehorn with a Harpoon Launcher, 2 Iron Blasters, Ogre Bulls, and 5 Noblars in the starting army, a Tyrant to back them up. We've also got Hunter. It looks like he is on the Stonehorn mount as well. Maybe. We'll see. Perhaps not. Crushers with great weapons for anti-large, couple of Gorgers, couple of Ogre Bulls, and 1 Iron Fist. We are on the crossing of the Sea of Claws, so let's get to it. Yes, indeed, Warhammer 3 is finally live for you all, so hopefully you're enjoying it. Hopefully the launch build is stable and running well for you all. I'm not sure. I'm currently playing still and recording this on the early access build, it should be said. But all things considered, this game, in my opinion, is amazing. I have had an absolute blast playing it, and now granted, I am extremely biased. I would consider myself a Total War superfan, having played just about every Total War.
The insufferable dark gods spurned me. It is the changer that shall burn the longest.
Oh, is that so? Okay, LAKOR. Spiteful LAKOR. Anyway, didn't want to interrupt his speech. But anyway, I played all Total Wars pretty much since the beginning. I played Shogun, the original Shogun, when it was new. I skipped a few. Like, I didn't play Rome 2 on launch. I got into that game later on during Emperor Edition, because I sort of lost track of the series at that time. And, like, you know, I haven't played Napoleon a ton, even still to this day, and still haven't really played Thrones of Britannia either, but I would still consider myself very much a lifetime Total War fan, and I have already put 300 hours plus into Total War Warhammer 3 between campaign and multiplayer, pretty well evenly split between the two. So I mean, the game definitely has some issues. I've talked at length in various videos about them, performance and stability being among them. Unit responsiveness is also not great. There's some UI improvements I would like to see, especially for Domination, but in general, the game is very good, and I would recommend it for any fan of the Total War series or any fan of RTS or turn-based strategy in general. It is, I think, the best strategy game ever made, and especially once we get everything added in with the big combined map, with the integration with all the Warhammer 1 and 2 content, there will be no strategy game like this ever, probably, and like ever before, ever after. So enjoy it while it's new and while it's here, folks. LAKOR moving up, the double sentinels thinking about taking an engagement, then immediately moving back, and those Jade Halberds are regretting every decision they've ever made in life to bring them to this point to get roasted out by Flamers. My Slaaneshi ally and I also, you saw, got the cheeky little vanguard of some Furies and some Hellstriders up in that corner, and which you actually can do on this map, but we were mostly pushed back. The Iron Blaster sitting up on the hill is a pretty scary presence of shooting, but we can hopefully just saturate enough numbers down here to still be able to seize this objective, because Cafe and the Ogres are playing pretty defensively here, just sitting back with the Iron Blasters. That allows us to take pretty good map control. You can see I've got my Fiends and my Nurglings up here, some Hellstriders also hanging around. LAKOR's kit, if we now stop and take a look, only 45 armor is pretty much his only weakness. I mean, 55 defense also isn't amazing, but it's definitely good enough as LAKOR flies over there to engage some cavalry. He's got Lord of Shadows, of course, as mentioned in his current kit. We've got the Melkos Miasma and Enfeebling Foe. His Dark Master, minus 40 melee attack debuff, also very strong. Also has a ward save, Shadow Shroud for 40%. Not to mention, removes immune to psychology in an area of effect with minus 8 leadership, so any unit that doesn't cause terror, he can actually terror out. And in theory, if you brought him with Rakarth in a 2v2, you could tear out literally any unit, which is kind of hilarious. I guess non-undead and demon. Anyway, he also gets replenishment for each unit nearby that's wavering morale or lower. So yeah, plus 10% power recharge as well with that Lord of Torment. And of course, he's also got Blade of Shadow. Similar to Scarbrand, he gets charged up with extra armor piercing and melee attack when he gets kills. So a very scary character. He is very expensive too, but no doubt a force to be reckoned with. So he's going to flap around, try and get into some more good engagements while avoiding the shots of those Iron Blasters. The Iron Blasters are doing their best to try and hit him, but being that he's flying and relatively fast, he can mostly stay away from that heavy damage. In the center, though, the Sentinels have moved up, and they're definitely making mincemeat of this Slaaneshi force. You can see the Soul Grinders come back over and is going to try and probably get into combat here, or even just get to safety. I mean, Soul Grinder 1v3 is still not going to go great here, although the Herald is also fighting on a Seeker, it looks like. So she's going to have to be careful. She's got pretty low HP values, but here comes the Slaanesh Soul Grinder for a rear charge with his claws out, mechanical and crab. But the Sentinels are here to protect, so should be just fine. Meanwhile, the Nurglings and the Fiends just kind of trundling around over here, kind of baiting in and out, trying to get some shots of like the Stonehorn. And maybe if we can distract the Iron Blasters too, that would be great, but the Iron Blasters are a significant enough threat that I'm actually going to commit LAKOR to what would seem to be a fairly risky engagement, but there's actually not a lot of strong melee units to come in and support. I mean, the Stonehorn, I'm not really worried about LAKOR having to fight in melee. LAKOR certainly a strong enough combatant, and especially with that debuff, we can hit the Stonehorn's melee attack down to 0. So I mean, even still, it's not. I mean, 40 versus 55 with the damage resistance as well. So base hit chance, you know, being even lowered because his attack is lower than my defense. All things considered, very much in LAKOR's favor here. So I can just leave him in combat, even though the Furies that were supporting him do evaporate. He's going to start to take some damage, too, from the shooting of the Lead Belchers. There's Celestial Crossbows, too, which, again, AP doesn't really matter because he's low armor, but still. Soul Grinder ends up getting absolutely wrecked by Double Sentinel, while Miao Ying gets distracted going after my Flamers, which is obviously the right call. You don't want to let Flamers sit and shoot ever. But I do have some more over here. We've also got some Fiends and plenty of Fleshhounds. I developed 3 Fleshhounds down in the center to just hold for the time being. The Ogres felt, I guess they have finally built up enough forces to counter-push here and have pushed back the Fiends and the Nurglings onto this objective. Really not going to be a great day for me. I'm just way outvalued here by Gorgers and by Noblars. So moving back over into the center, Flamers and Fleshhounds working well in tandem together to try and get rid of those Sentinels. Yeah, I guess I am actually just maneuvering my Fleshhounds and Fiends over to try and hold this objective number 1, sort of forsaking the center objective for the time being. We got some Nurglings that went down and captured point number 3. We might get charged out by some Jade Lancers and other units, but LAKOR still fighting. The Herald came in, and of course, the nice thing about Demons of Chaos I mean, you can't exactly guarantee which abilities you're going to be getting, right? Of the demon army abilities. You get just random army abilities. Ooh, I heard a pendulum go off from my ally there. Ogman dropping some nasty, nasty value on those Celestial Dragon crossbows. But anyway, yeah, you charge up the Demons of Chaos army ability by dealing damage with your Lord. And again, it will give you randomized army abilities from each of the demon factions. So like right there, I got the Bombardment of Tzeentch, which was able to come in and do quite a bit of damage to that big pocket of enemy troops. I also hopefully will get the Nurgle heal, the Fecundity. Regardless, I've brought in my Nurgle Plague Ridden here because I've got enough Winds of Magic here to potentially heal LAKOR, and he is taking some damage at this point. He's in some Jade Warrior Halberds, surrounded by some Ogre Crusher Cavalry with their massive anti-large two-handed weapons. It's not going to be great for LAKOR, so we'll leave him to it for the time being as the Corn Dogs chase down and finish off some Celestial Dragon Halberds. We've also got Nurglings just reinforcing down onto this objective. They're kind of holding for the time being, or are just about to give up the fight, that is. Fleshhounds also came over, and more Hellstriders also reinforcing. Should be able to finish off these Jade Lancers. That anti-large and nice charge damage too. They don't get the devastating flanker, but even still on a rear charge, certainly should be enough to deal with those Lancers and the Fiends and the Corn Dogs also. With the Herald sweeping back with the Hellstriders, we're able to break that massive force of Noblars. Only the Gorgers remaining there still fighting. And you know who else is still remaining fighting? That's right. LAKOR had a little melee attack buff of Corn there, and now getting very low, down to 2400 HP just about. But the Nurgle Plague Ridden just ever so slowly just trundling forward, gets into range to start casting, and pops his little heal. So there we go. That is going to bring LAKOR back up to strength. That sweet, sweet fleshy abundance, 1.6% heals per second. Very strong synergy with a high HP character like LAKOR. Another beautiful pendulum coming in. The Hunter looks like was not on the Stonehorn. He's just here to throw his anti-large jabs at LAKOR. Try and finish him off. The Crushers also with their anti-large damage. There's actual Celestial Dragon Halberds now fighting him. So, I mean, this is a very bad situation for LAKOR to be in. But all things considered, he's doing just fine. That crippling blow, crippling throw rather, from the Hunter actually did debuff his melee defense pretty significantly. Sweet sorrow for himself, though, keeping him refreshed on vigor. And the Fleshhounds finally come through. We're able to bypass some of the forces in the center there, just outmaneuver and come screen LAKOR so that he can pull back and get away from this engagement finally, after having terror routed the Celestial Dragon Guard there. So all things considered, LAKOR took an extreme amount of damage, but was also able to hold up for quite some time. He's up to 27% extra armor piercing damage and 11 extra melee attack from getting so many kills. 71 kills there, so pretty good stuff. Plague Ridden now, having got his one heal off, is just going to stand in the center and get mauled by Cathayan single entities, but also provide a nice little anvil. Nice little character hammer and anvil here for the devastating flanker charge of the Herald, able to come in and get a few big attacks on Miao Ying, and she's going to go ahead and respond with a vengeful Dragon's Talons Vortex, if that's even what it's called. I'm pretty sure that's wrong, but anyway, Celestial Crossbows get eaten up by Fiends and Corn Dogs here. We're also kind of spawn camping slightly with Hellstriders, which, I mean, they're not going to last long at all in that situation, but at the very least, they'll hold for a few seconds. We also got the Fecundity heal on LAKOR, which I didn't highlight, but that is the Nurgle army ability. And you can see his Blade of Shadow is almost enough to overcome the weapon strength debuff from wounds at this point. Not quite, still pretty close, but we're going to fly over in the air and get some attacks on Miao Ying. Get a little bit of a dog fight, so to speak. LAKOR just waving his sword, thinking about attacking, not actually attacking. Oh, it looks like Miao Ying actually landed there. Sneaky little land, manual land animation. Also going into combat, getting a hit on the Herald. That could mean, though, that Miao will take a rear charge from LAKOR. Oh, there we go. LAKOR gets his hop down onto the ground, walking over casually, and there's the rear attack. Oh, man, right when the Flamers come in, too, to just really destroy my frame rate. Absolutely roast those Longmas that had been surrounding the Plague Ridden there. And more Fiends to protect as well. 2 Flamers in a concave for myself able to come in and do a ton of damage there. LAKOR moving up, trying to take out that Hunter. The Hunter's anti-large shots are doing enough damage to LAKOR at this point that I really don't want any more of that garbage, so we'll hop down on him, get some attacks. If we check in on the point situation too, things are pretty close to even. I mean, we are currently 2 capped. We almost got 3 capped there, but we were able to just barely hold on this objective number 1, and we also just capped objective here in the center. So, Soul Grinder's back in action with the Fiends. We finished off 1 Sentinel and Meow at this point, too, right? Yep, looks like Meow got finished off by the Flamers, perhaps. So, good stuff there. Fiends also just kind of mucking up the spawn here, not allowing the Ogres to get active. Unfortunately, though, the 2 Iron Blasters are still online. Used up most of their ammunition at this point, but with that little 2 cap and with the Ogre Cathay Alliance not really having enough forces to immediately come counter push, like if they were to get everything together and concertedly come push either this center or this far side objective, probably the far side objective because we don't have that much there. In the center, we do still have some pretty strong forces with the 2 Flamers. Got some more Nurglings moving in. LAKOR is almost done, but he has done his job of finishing off the final Sentinel with the support of the Fiends there. And let's check in on his final stat line. Yeah, still 27, only 27% extra AP. I guess the actual kill still only counts as 1, right? Anyway. Man, was that Lord of the Rings trailer like really uncomfortably CG or what? Anyway. I'm recording this the day after the Super Bowl, of course. For those of you non-American folks who don't know, there was a preview drop for the new Lord of the Rings Amazon show, which didn't honestly look very good, but hopefully it turns out better than the preview. We'll see. I don't have high hopes, to be honest, but anyway. Cynicism about TV shows aside here, the Ogres have still got a pretty good presence. Cathay definitely less so. Most of the Cathayan units are done, but they are holding objective number 3 with some pretty strong anti-large infantry. Unfortunately, we're just too far ahead at this point. We managed to get more Nurglings and Hellstriders and Fiends to secure. So even Demons of Chaos, by the way, for those of you guys interested in 2v2 battles, I am hosting a 2v2 tournament tomorrow. That is Friday. What is it? What day of the month is that? That would be the 18th, Friday the 18th at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which, yeah, I'd have to actually mentally do the math. But a 2v2 tournament of Demons of Chaos will be allowed as long as you don't bring Greater Demons or Soul Grinders, which is exactly kind of the way that I've constructed this build here, and still was very strong. You still get access to quite a few of the good units. You don't get the Mortals either, though, which I mean, like Forsaken and Spawns are very good for their respective factions. The Warriors of Khorne and Marauders of Slaanesh are very decent as well. So lacking all of those, you are a little bit behind the curve in that way, but you still get access to a lot of the good stuff, like Fiends, like Flamers, like Fleshhounds, LAKOR himself making back 4,000 damage value even without Pendulums. Consider the following, though, that the Herald of Slaanesh is much cheaper and was able to make more value back by abusing Pendulums. So there you go. Soul Grinder also didn't quite pay for itself, but the Demonettes did quite well. Herald didn't, sorry, the Cultists didn't actually get used. Cultists is also something you lack as Demons of Chaos, which is something, definitely. The Cultists are pretty good. But, wow, really good value on the Heartseekers of Slaanesh there. 233, they were just all over the place, getting nice devastating flanker rear charges. Same thing with the Fiends, Hellstriders as well. Exalted Demonettes weren't able to pay for themselves, but still, the Chaos Furies of Slaanesh were. For myself, again, my starting army, very cost-effective for the most part. Nurglings did kind of get pounded there, but that is their role here. Plague-ridden also able to come in and get some pretty good heals. Fiends, likewise, doing all right. Fleshhounds, surprisingly, don't all pay for themselves, barely, but pretty close. And then, yeah, Nurglings are just so awesome for securing objectives. A great little tar pit poison unit. For Miao Ying, she pays for herself too, which is great, and both the Sentinels just about do. So Cathay, I would say, for the starting army was pretty decent. Unfortunately, the reinforcements did not perform well. The fact they were kind of bottled up, getting pounded by LAKOR and spells and whatnot, all in their deployment, was a little bit hard for them to get out and get onto the objectives. The Iron Blasters also, surprisingly enough, did not pay for themselves. I definitely expected them to. Stonehorn did have to fight Belakor in melee, which ended up not being a great engagement for it. But the cheap bulls are very cost effective, as are the Gorgers. They both pay for them. No, actually, one of them doesn't pay for themselves. Crushers also do very good in terms of damage value. I haven't been the biggest fan of the Ogre Kingdom's cavalry, but the anti-large cavalry specifically to try and deal with someone like Belakor maybe could be pretty good, although that value might be slightly inflated from the fact that Belakor healed so much, but Lead Belters definitely pay for themselves if they're able to sit and shoot for a decent amount of time as well. So it was a fun one. Nice back and forth, relatively close, but I do feel that we were in a fairly commanding position for a majority of the battle. At least for myself, I felt like the battle was never too far out of control for us. But definitely a fun one. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the game. Be sure to like, sub, join the 2v2 tournament tomorrow. I'll have a link down in the description below for those of you guys who want to. Test yourself, grab a friend, have some fun, all that jazz. Thanks again. Be sure to like, sub. See you next time.